Welcome back to Thinking Cap, and in this one, it's my weekly series Best FPL Captain. We've gotten 140 captain points from the top option in my rankings, but last week we had our first blank of the season with Bukayo Saka only getting 3 points. He was robbed of an assist by the PGMOL. Let's see if we can bounce back in Gameweek 7. Thinking Cap activated. Always, guys, we'll begin with a review of last game week's rankings, and last week it was a mixed bag. I did correctly predict Haaland to score less points than Saka and Salah, but I got the order wrong, and Palmer was the best captain on last week's shortlist anyways, so congrats if you went with him in the wildcard spot. We did get a couple of things wrong last week, but our top two options did outscore Haaland, which is a definite sign we're on the right track. On to the Gameweek 7 shortlist now, and the 4 candidates I'm looking at this week for captaincy are Haaland, Salah, Palmer, and Bukayo Saka. On paper, Saka has the most favourable fixture with Southampton at home, but overall I think all 4 premiums have decent fixtures. Let's examine the defensive data of these 4 teams so far. Nottingham Forest have had the strongest defensive performances across the first 6 game weeks. They've accumulated only 5.38 expected goals conceded, which ranks 3rd best in the entire league. On the flip side, Southampton have accumulated 11.21 XGC, which ranks 17th out of all Premier League clubs, and it is the worst XGC total out of all 4 teams on the shortlist. Crystal Palace are the next worst, 9.16 XG total. However, their fixtures were much tougher than some of the other teams like Forest and Southampton. Fulham impress with only 6.58 XGC accumulated across the first 6, which actually ranks 6th best out of all Premier League clubs. However, like a Nottingham Forest, they've played easier opposition. We know how good Arsenal are from set pieces, and with Saka being on corners, it's interesting that Southampton have actually conceded the most XGC from set plays out of all Premier League teams. Arsenal are the best set piece team in the league, and they've got Southampton next. This is definitely a big positive for a Saka captain this game week. Based on the defensive data, it's clear that Southampton are the most favourable fixture, with Crystal Palace and Fulham following. Forest's fixtures, they've been good, and that could have inflated their defensive numbers, but we do know that Nuno is a low block coach. Breaking down a low block will be tougher for Chelsea's attack and therefore lowers Palmer's ceiling. Moving into rest and recovery, Palmer does have an 8-day rest advantage over the other premiums in the shortlist. Saka played 92 minutes against PSG on Tuesday and has 4 days rest until the Southampton game. Erling Haaland played on Tuesday as well and will also have 4 days rest. However, he did get the 61st minute sub midweek, and he could be a touch more fresh than a Bukayo Saka on Saturday. Mo Salah will have the least amount of recovery time. He played 90 minutes in the Champions League on Wednesday, and he has the early kickoff away from home this Saturday. Now that we've touched on the rest times for these premiums, let's see what their expected minutes look like for Game Week 7. All 4 players are expected to play over 80 minutes, with the international break just around the corner. However, Bukayo Saka has the highest probability, in my opinion, for an early sub, as he is playing Southampton. If Arsenal are winning by 2 or 3 goals around the 70-minute mark, I wouldn't be surprised to see Saka pulled off. I think Salah and Palmer have the strongest chance to play the full game. Palmer won't feature in the Conference League midweek, and Salah, he's got no backup. Plus, he's fully capable of playing all the minutes against Palace because he's a minutes monster. Haaland did get the knock, a warning knock from Dan Burn against Newcastle, which is why I think there's a higher likelihood he sees shaved minutes against Fulham, especially if City are cruising around the 80th minute mark. Before we do get into the kickoff data analysis, let's conduct a quick risk assessment. The highest risk captain is Bukayo Saka. Look, very few managers will hand him the armband after a 3-pointer against Leicester City. His ownership is also lower than all of the other players on this shortlist, which increases Saka cap risk up to 80%. He does offer considerable gain potential due to his Game Week 7 fixture. Cole Palmer is in a similar boat, but he is higher owned than Saka, so I'm expecting a decent amount of managers to captain Cole, especially after his 25-pointer, but the majority of the game will stick with a Salah or Haaland cap. Palmer is much more explosive than Saka, which is why his gain potential is considerably higher. Haaland is the lowest risk captain. The vast majority of managers will captain him this game week, which means your gain potential is lower, but Haaland is explosive. There's still plenty of engaged managers without him. Salah sits in the mid-range. He's a safer captain than a Palmer and a Saka, but he's had the least amount of rest and he's got an away game. I expect him to have much lower backing from the masses this game week compared to last week, which is why his risk is above 50%. Salah offers quite a lot of potential for gain. He's been explosive in the early kickoffs, and he does have a really decent record against Palace, which we'll take a look at now. On to the historical return trends, where I analyze how these premiums have performed previously in their Game Week 7 fixtures. First with Palmer, he's never played Nottingham Forest at home in the Prem, but he did face them away from home in Game Week 37 last season, where he registered 1 assist and 6 points. Mo Salah has 8 attacking returns in 5 away starts against Crystal Palace, which is a big positive for a Mo Salah cap this weekend. He's returned 2 double-digit hauls in his last 3 starts against the Seagulls. Erling Haaland has started twice against Fulham, scoring 4 and assisting once across the 2. Last season, he registered 20 points in this exact fixture, a hat-trick and 1 assist. He's never blanked against Fulham at home, which will definitely make it hard for FPL managers to go against Robot this weekend. Bukayo Saka has a much better record versus Southampton at home compared to his record against Leicester. It's 2 goals and 3 assists in 3 home starts against the Saints. He's just blanked only once. The last time he played in this fixture, he registered 13 points. Now into the kickoff data comparison, where I break down the data of how these premiums have performed in their game day. This helps us identify player bias towards or against their upcoming fixture, which gives us an edge in making captaincy decisions. Haaland has extremely impressive stats when playing at home on Saturday. He's hauled double digits in 43% of games played, by far the best double-digit haul rate out of all players on the shortlist. He ranks first in return rate, points per start, and he's averaging 12.6 points in his last 5 starts on Saturday. Mo Salah has the next best set of data, only a 26% double-digit haul rate, but that is the second best on the shortlist, with Bukayo Saka at 25%. His return rate is also second best at 0.92 goal involvements per start in Saturday away matches, and Mo also ranks second in average points per start. Cole Palmer hasn't started very many Sunday home games, but still it's 6 returns in 7 for him, highlighting his consistency. He's yet to produce a double-digit haul in a Sunday home match, but this weekend could be the first. Analyzing Palmer's return trends from last season, his explosivity usually carries through multiple games. Last season, he played Burnley and Man United at home back-to-back, and he recorded double-digit hauls in both. 2 games after that, he exploded with 26 points against Everton. Bukayo Saka's got 21 GA from 28 starts, but he's only banged double digits in 25% of those games. I will say though, Saka has 2 hauls in the last 5. Don't be fooled by the Leicester game, because in my eyes, he did get the assist. Considering Southampton is a more preferred fixture for Saka, I still think there's definitely some potential for him to be best cap. Now it's into the game time comparison. Haaland's data is the clear standout again, 1.62 attacking returns per start in 3 PM home games, by far the best on this list. And you can really see how explosive he's been at this kickoff time, with Haaland holding double digits in 46% of the games played. He's top of average points per start, top of form, and he offers the lowest blank rate, with Haaland blanking only 15% of his starts at this kickoff time. This definitely suggests one Haaland return is very likely, with a strong possibility for more GA on the forecast. Palmer has only 4 starts in 2 PM home matches, but he's returned in all 4. He's third in average points per start, and he's only 0.04 points behind Salah, who's got the second best average. Considering Palmer's uptake in form, he could be a really great cap option, as it seems like a preferred kickoff time for Cole. No blanks, and he's yet to haul at this game time. Consistency breeds explosivity, and a 0% blank rate at this time is suggestive of haul potential. Saka has the worst blank rate in this comparison, blanking in 40% of his starts at home in 3 PM games. He's also got the lowest points average, and he's only produced double digits in 13% of his 3 PM starts. This does point away from Saka cap. However, I do think the fixture needs to be considered, and if we look at his production in the last 5 at this kickoff time, he's returned in 4 of the last 5 3 p.m. home matches with 1 double-digit haul as well. Mo Salah is a completely different story, very consistent data set as per usual, and he's hauled in 32% of his starts away from home in the early kickoff. In his last 4, he's delivered 3 double-digit hauls, and he hasn't blanked a single match in the last 5. His blank rate is higher than you'd want at 36%, but his strong points average, form, and haul rate indicates explosive potential. Let's head into the rankings. Now, before we get into the Game Week 7 Captain Rankings, you need to know that these rankings could change. Captaincy means we need to access and process the maximum amount of information so we can make the best, most informed decision. I post my final Game Week 7 rankings on all social platforms, so if they do change based on leaks, injuries, or press conference news, make sure you're following at least one to get the latest rankings before the final deadline. Linktree is in the video description, and now let's not waste a single second. In third place, it is Mo Salah, and no, it's not because of the fixture. I still think the fixture is good. Mo has a great personal record against Palace, especially at Selhurst Park. The 3 days rest is the real big factor, and the fact it's an early kickoff. Those are the real big factors for me. Look, Salah's a superb athlete, treats his body very well, eats well, sleeps well, but I'm sure the extra 24 hours and no weekend travel time for the other guys, I expect that to be a big factor, and it's one of the main reasons why Mo is in the 3rd spot. In the wildcard spot, which is for managers who have a high risk appetite, probably a risk appetite around 8 out of 10 or higher, with 6 being the average. So if you're really chasing gains, trying to engage and take on more risk to have those big rank jumps, I would recommend Palmer captain this game week. His explosivity, it's just insane. And if you catch one of his big holes when the other premiums do bad, you're going to profit massively. I mentioned before that his explosive form showed signs last season that it can actually carry through multiple games. I just don't really like the Forest game matchup wise for Palmer, as I know what Nuno's going to do. He's going to go there, sit in a low block, pack the midfield, and there's definitely high risk that you do get burnt with the Palmer cap this weekend, especially with how good the fixtures are for the other 3 guys. But if you really want to engage in a high risk, high reward captain, I'd go with Palmer again. My best captain for Game Week 7 is Saka versus Southampton, which does put Erling Haaland in 2nd place. Fulham is one of Haaland's most preferred fixtures for sure, and I do still think that Haaland's in good form, but I don't like capping Haaland without De Bruyne. No, De Bruyne does lower Haaland's ceiling for me, and I know, look, Haaland got the Hattie against Fulham last season with no KDB, but Foden was playing wide at that time. Alvarez played centrally, and Alvarez was the one to feed Haaland, and I do think that Haaland was a little bit jammy to get all 4 returns against Fulham that season. I went back and watched the game, and the assist that he had was actually a shot that just went to Alvarez. He got the penalty, obviously, and I think it was the 3rd goal that was a little bit jammy, but he can do that again. He's very dangerous, very explosive, and for me, I'm just under the belief that KDB makes Haaland better, and when Foden's playing central, it's Foden's team. And I'm also under the belief that Fulham have improved a lot defensively this season. Their performances have been much better. Their numbers have been better. Look, guys, I'm not saying Haaland will blank. I think realistically, Haaland's ceiling's probably, well, historically is 20 points, but I think I'd put Haaland's ceiling around 13 points, and I think Saka's got a bigger ceiling. Palmer's got a bigger ceiling. Even Salah's got a bigger ceiling than 13 points. And I do expect Haaland to score, but I'm not sure he'll maximize bonus just because Foden is back. So I do think Saka is the better option this week. I did watch the full 90 minutes of the Bournemouth-Southampton game, guys, and the Southampton coach, he really hasn't got a clue. Plus, their defense just stinks. I don't care whether it's Charlie Taylor or Kyle Walker-Peters playing left back. Don't think it matters that much. Saka, he likes historically the Southampton fixture much more than he did Leicester last week, and the fact that he's on set pieces. Arsenal do have 55% clean sheet odds, which puts Saka at a really, really, really high floor for this game. It's really unlikely that Saka gets less than 6 points this week, with very strong probability for more. So yes, guys, Saka is my favorite captaincy option and my best captain for Game Week 7, guys. Make sure you are following on all social platforms, because if we get news of an injury for a Fulham player or a Palace player or something, the rankings could change. New info always affects the picture, but that's a wrap on my video. If you did enjoy this one, then hit the like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Am I kind of crazy to go against Erling this week? Erling, like Pep says, am I crazy to go against him, or are you with me on Saka? Are you gonna back the star boy? And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Peace.